What up, Alpha Team? It's DJ AlphaTyler, and we are back again with another reaction. Y'all already know what it is. You see the title. Y'all ready for this one? We are checking out my man Skeem with America Isn't Free. Now, it's no secret, Skeem and I have had a lot of public conversations. We've had a lot of debates. We've agreed, disagreed. We have discussed politics in general. We have discussed issues of policy in general together, both publicly and privately. And you should all be pretty familiar with that by now. If you're not, sorry. And I feel as though this is going to be an extension of some of those conversations we've had. So Skeem and I agree on a fair amount of policy issues. We disagree on a fair amount as well. At the end of the day, I think what a lot of people don't understand is that Skeem and I are probably more closely aligned politically than not. This song will be a test. This will be interesting. I'll be interested to get into this. I will say on the surface level, and I've seen Skeem's community posts and everything where he's been talking about, statistics on freedom in America and everything. And the crux of what I think this song is going to get to is really kind of pointing out, okay, America is not free. You don't have the freedom. You are taught that you have certain freedoms. You are kept safe to a certain extent, but really and truly at the end of the day, a lot of your freedoms are manufactured. I don't think that's even really a secret. I just think when people see titles like this, they are so conditioned to be triggered by the premise that America might not be as free as they think it is, that they really react a little irrationally. Now, do I think that America is the greatest country on earth? Absolutely. That's a whole different discussion. He may go into that conversation. I'll be interested to see if he does. But without further ado, we're going to jump into this. If you're new to the channel, like, share, and subscribe. If you don't know Skeem, link is down in the description. Make sure you do the same over there. Let's check this one out. America Isn't Free by Skeem. Let's get it. Interesting beat choice for a Skeem song. This is going to be our first pause and reflect. Interesting beat choice because normally I'm used to Skeem kind of having those more cartoony beats, those more excited beats. This one's a little more brown than what he usually comes with. Okay.
One hand you point out the tyranny, next hand you tell me that you are free.
And he almost sounds bored. On one hand, you point out the tyranny. On the other hand, you tell me that you're free. So we're talking to conservatives right now because conservatives are really quick. Well, conservatives are really quick because Biden is in office and Democrats control Congress. Really, whoever the have-nots are at the moment, not the actual have-nots, but the ones who don't have power in government at the moment, are going to be the ones, because while Trump was president, of course, liberals were crying and raging. And honestly, really, when you think about it, everybody keeps going in their cycle. Even when they have the majority, somehow they're still the minority. So
one hand you point out the tyranny, next hand you tell me that you are free. One day the home of the brave, next day pussy shooting schools up into flames. Okay.
So we go from the home of the brave to having horrible, school shootings and stuff like that. I mean, not wrong.
They weaponize your patriotism to make self-loathing victim schisms. Meanwhile, you pay top-tier tax fees along with credit card debt for med bills, bitch, please.
Okay. So again, we're going through again that illusion of freedom. And this is kind of what I was expecting to see in this song. He talked about they weaponize your patriotism. Of course they do. Whether you think that you're going to make America a better place by, universal health care or, helping the homeless, whatever the case, or if you think that America needs less restriction and less government, whatever, you are weaponized because you love America into whatever. You're still weaponized into fighting the other side, the enemy of whoever is in power at the time. And it's also part of what fuels that news narrative to keep us pitted against each other.
Meanwhile, you pay top tier tax fees along with credit card debt for med bills, bitch, please. America isn't free. We're still living in the days of slavery.
Facts, though. I like to, I've heard the comparison made a fair few times. I'm sure everybody has. You know, we broke the chains, but we're still wearing new ones. It's like we get away from, you know, the institution of slavery, but then we go around full circle. We enslave ourselves to businesses. Do you guys know that Americans actually work more than anyone else in the world? If you look in other countries, we have longer work days, fewer days off, fewer rest cycles, fewer holidays, vacations, whatever. There's no, I think what paternity leave for the father of a child is now pretty much accepted in almost every European country, if not every European country. I mean, when we look at other countries on the same level as us, when we talk about individual liberties and freedoms, granted, I have all the time in the world to do those things if I want to. You guys know what I do for a living, though. I don't work in a factory. I don't work a typical 9 to 5. And so in my lane, yes, I have those freedoms. Most people do not.
America isn't free. We're still living in the days of slavery. Your work is just a ploy to pay outstanding fees. America isn't free. The only free thing's the government's reign. But you think you're free because you have guns to explain. You're not.
And again, hold up, what was that?
Ploy to pay outstanding fees. America isn't free. The only free thing's the government's reign. But you think you're free because you have guns to explain. You're not doing well protecting your own. Children gunning down each other when they're leaving their home.
Okay, and again, you think because you have guns that you're free? No, I enjoy having guns, for the record. And you guys know I'm a very pro Second Amendment person. I'm a very pro gun person. I think that I absolutely have the right to own guns. But that said, I don't think that that's an absolute freedom. Skeem and I actually had this discussion a long time ago where we were talking about, you know, what are you going to do really? You know, if you think about your reason for owning guns, if you think about the initial, you know, stated intention that people have for, you know, holding on to their guns and everything, it's oh, so we can fight the government if the government becomes a tyrant. Well, issue with that. What am I going to do with an AR-15 against a tank? There's nothing that you can do with an AR-15 against a tank. And if it really comes to, we have a tyrannical government that's actually invading and taking over and impeding on our rights as citizens, the tanks will be rolling through the streets. You know what I'm saying? So what are you actually going to do at the end of the day?
You're not doing.
And he's saying you're not doing well protecting your own when your kids are grabbing your guns and going out and you know, catching each other. And that's facts. Listen, real responsible gun owners will agree. First of all, you should be keeping your guns safe 100%. They should not be, your children should not be able to reach your guns, should not be able to access your guns, shouldn't be able to take your guns, period, without you knowing that they are holding those. Next, you need to make sure, in my opinion, it is irresponsible not to educate your children, not to educate the people around you on how guns work, what they can do, what they are capable of, what they are, and where that lands. Now, bottom line, does my 3-year-old know about guns? No. My 3-year-old knows not to touch a gun. You literally, if she sees a gun and you ask her, okay, what is that? She knows that it's a gun. She knows what it can do. And she knows that she is not supposed to touch it. Period. And that's good. Now, there will come a point where I will hopefully be able to teach her how to use them and how to safely handle them, so on and so forth. But until that time comes, she needs to understand that she can't touch them. But people need to understand guns. Rather than fearing guns, people need to understand guns, especially when we're getting into a society. We're literally looking at the result, in my mind, when you look at children out in the streets doing these awful things, or people doing these awful things in schools. When you look at that situation, what you have is a generation of people who don't truly understand. I know on paper they understand, but they don't truly understand the consequences of what they're doing. They don't understand the finality of what they're doing. Nobody ever sat them down and really drilled it through their head, the value of the people around them, the value of the lives that they are endangering.
know while protecting your own. Children gunning down each other when they're leaving their home. It's not an issue in a first world country. You think it's normal, you're a stupid ass cunt, see. You're bearing arms in fear of harm from the army, as if you're stopping any drone strikes, hardly. No need.
Exactly. You're not gonna stop a drone strike with a gun unless you're like a really good shot, dog.
Arms in fear of harm from the army, as if you're stopping any drone strikes, hardly. No need for weapons with their ultimate power. They bust the brains of all the small-minded cowards. You wanna justify unlimited munitions, then time to hunt the puppet masters, organizing missions. America isn't free.
I like what he got down to too. He said if you really want to justify, you know, what you're doing with this, it's time to actually turn your attention and focus toward the puppet masters, toward the people who are perpetuating the issues, toward the people who are actually, you know, instigating what we have going on. I mean, we don't need to be looking at, you know, the back and forth. We don't need to be looking at the battle. We need to be looking up at the people who keep us in this constant cycle. And it really comes down to, and this is again another community post that I saw that he posted where people were having a lot of back and forth. Listen, I'm sorry if you are a supporter of the Republican and Democratic parties right now, you are supporting the problem. You are perpetuating the problem. If you are registered, again, and this was the part that he said that really triggered people, and this may have actually been a tweet that he made earlier today now that I'm thinking about it. But if you are out here, and let's say you're registered, he said registered independent. I would even go a step further, because now you can register as independent, you can register as a libertarian, as a constitutionalist, Green Party, socialist, whatever. If you're registered to one of those parties, but you're still siding with, you know, the Republicans or the Democrats, either side of that, honestly, they are both two sides of the same issue. And we don't see that. Really, at the end of the day, Republicans and Democrats work together to keep the other voices out of our government. If you look at it, why was Joe Jorgensen not allowed on the debate stage? Well, at the end of the day, Joe Jorgensen wasn't allowed to have a reasonable voice in a discussion between two old men who wanted to continue the same issues, period.
It's then time to hunt the puppet masters, organizing missions. America isn't free. We're still living in the days of slavery. Your work is just a ploy to pay outstanding fees. America isn't free. There's no freedom if the masses are dumb. We can't beat them so the mind will go numb. Apathetic, cutting out our own tongues. There's no freedom if the masses are dumb. America isn't.
And again, that is the key. How do you actually get freedom? How do you actually improve issues? Education. There's no freedom if the masses are dumb. If you don't understand the issue, if you can't verbalize and actually conceptualize what the problem is that's going on, if you can't see how that problem impacts you, if you can't see where that problem stems from, if you don't see the facets of the issue that we actually face in America and who is pulling the strings, who is actually perpetuating the problems that we have, who pits people against each other, who benefits from the fact that we're constantly triggered and going back and forth and battling each other, then you don't actually understand the problem, and we can't fix the problem. There can't be freedom because we can't attack the source. We have to look at these two parties that have deluded the masses into thinking America is just a two-party system and you don't have any other options besides those two parties. That's wrong. Education is the key. Education is the path. Education is the way. We need to actually educate the masses, not on propaganda, not on revised history, not on what have you, but actually educate the masses.
Free. We're still living in the days of slavery. Your work is just a ploy to pay outstanding fees. America isn't free. America isn't free. We're still living in the days of slavery. Your work is just a ploy to pay outstanding fees. America isn't free.
America isn't free by Skeem. So there you have it, guys. Pretty much boiled down to what I thought the song would be about, and it really is our misconception about freedom in America. It really is about the issues that we face and choose not to see. I enjoyed the song. Well, let me rephrase. I enjoyed the message. I don't like this song that much. Only because I don't like this tone on Skeem, and I get it. It was intentional. It's for the artistic effect. I mean, the beat, like I said, it's got more of that brown sound. that dirty, that kind of droned down, like bogged down, muddy, dirty sound. Not muddy in a technical sense, but that dirty, negative, dystopian, almost, you know, dark place sound. Skeem himself comes across sounding bored, all artistically intentional, so don't mistake that. But listenability for me, it's just not one of my favorite Skeem songs, because I don't love the vibe from it. I do love the message, though. I agree with the message, and that's the thing. If you want to go into a point, I really stuck on the gun issue. I know that's something Skeem and I disagree with. There are a handful of other issues that we disagree with. What we don't disagree on is the central concept here, which is that people need to step outside of their boxes. People need to stop blindly supporting, whether you're talking about blindly supporting America, whether you're talking about blindly supporting, a political party, a single issue that you vote based on, identity politics, whatever your thing is. Actually educate yourself on the full spectrum of issues. Educate yourself on the full spectrum of societal issues that we face, even outside of politics, outside of what we're coming around to. There's a middle ground people can find. There's an alternative people can find. You just have to be willing to look. And honestly, I said it at the end of the last presidential cycle. I said 100% when I talk about politics on my channel from now on, it will be encouraging people to register and vote for third parties, because not that I didn't support that before, but I don't think up until this last presidential election, I don't think I did a good enough job really spreading that to the masses, which I feel like we have an obligation to do if you can actually see the problem, if you can see further, because most people don't see the problem. And the fact is, we are at a time, if we keep voting red versus blue, red versus blue, red versus blue, every election on every issue, we're just going to stay in the same place that we have been. And it does not work, period. Whether you agree on what the problem is, the way to resolve it is not working right now. That's all I got for this one. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Again, if you don't know Skeem, the link to the original video is down at the bottom of the description. Make sure you get over there, like, share, and subscribe. Do the same over here if you're new to the channel. I appreciate you guys. Hope you're staying safe, taking care. I'm DJ AlphaTyler, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Skeem's right, because the managers won't take their balls. Grab your balls, you a grown-ass man. Whining and crying like it's a part of your plan, can understand. Yeah, you're rapping that you go hard, rapping with no bars. Reckon you a joke, only ripping off the real stars. I got the diabolic rhyme, and you know we're gonna have one hell of a time. Stick a sip of the shot, I'm incensing your mind. Been on the sideline watching, aging like a fine wine inferno in your mind, like Dante in the 9-9.